guys, it's me, Miss Eason, and this week all of your science activities are going to be based around the process of photosynthesis. So to start, I want you to make sure you do your warm-up question first. So your warm-up question today is just to tell me what you already know about photosynthesis. But this week, instead of writing it down, I want you to click on the link and go to the flip grid and make a short movie telling me what you know about photosynthesis. You can use any of the effects on there, have some fun. I miss seeing your faces, so this is a way for me to get to see you guys. All right, on this next page, you have your notes. So again, if you have a printer and you can print these out, that's phenomenal. Go ahead and print them out, glue them to the next couple pages in your science journal. If you cannot print them, that's fine, but you are going to want to make sure you have these somewhere safe. You will need this information to complete your tasks. So if you cannot print them, go ahead and make sure you write them down or have them in your Google Drive somewhere digitally so that you can reference this information this week. So let's start with this picture here. This picture was taken under a microscope at an elodea plant. Now I know in 5th grade you guys talked a little bit about animal cells, unicellular organisms, microscopic organisms, and so you probably have a little bit of background information about the difference between animal and plant cells. So I think it's important before we talk about photosynthesis to talk about on a cellular level, what is the difference between us or animals and plants that lets them create this process. So in order to do that, we have to really break down an organism to its very, very smallest pieces, which are cells. So this is a picture again of an elodea plant under a microscope. Some of the differences between plant and animal cells. So one you might have talked about last year is a cell wall. So with plant cells, they have this rigid wall around the outside of each cell, and it's kind of this hexagon shape. Here, I don't know if you guys can see my mouse. So it's the hexagon shape around the outside. That is the cell wall. It gives it structure and kind of protects everything on the inside of those cells. But today, what I really want to look at is these little green blobs inside of the cells. So those little green blobs are where photosynthesis happens. So we have to even go further down, break apart the cell to get into it to figure out where photosynthesis happens. So inside of these cells, all of those little green blobs are little organelles, and we call them chloroplasts. Sorry, I couldn't say that very well. Chloroplasts. The chloroplast is an organelle inside of a plant cell, and it is filled with a ooey gooey green substance called chlorophyll. And this is actually what gives plants their green color. So chlorophyll is this ooey gooey substance inside of plant cells, and this is where photosynthesis actually happens. So it's way down deep on a cellular level. So let's look at your notes a little bit and start filling some of them out. So the first thing we want to know is that photosynthesis is a chemical reaction in plants that allows them to make their own food in the form of a sugar molecule. And it is a chemical reaction. So back when we were talking about chemistry with molecules and atoms and compounds, you're going to hear some of those words today. You're also going to get kind of an introduction to chemical formulas and what that looks like as we take certain molecules and create new molecules. So that's kind of an exciting thing you're going to see today. But this is what photosynthesis is. On a basic level, it is a chemical reaction and it creates food in the form of a sugar molecule. This sugar molecule, you might have heard, is also a carbohydrate. So if we were going to categorize that, it is a carbohydrate molecule. So this reaction takes place in the, do you remember? I just said it, come on. The chloroplasts. So the chloroplasts are those little green blobs that we saw inside of the cells. This is where it happens, okay? Now, what are the ingredients? What does a plant need to make this photosynthesis happen? Well, the first thing it needs energy from the sun. Okay, and you'll notice that if we have a plant and we don't let it have any sunlight, it's not going to do well. It's not going to live because it can't get food. It can't go through photosynthesis. So you have to have energy from the sun. The next ingredient that you need is carbon dioxide. So plants absolutely need carbon dioxide from the air in order to undergo this photosynthesis process. The third ingredient is water. So again, you don't water your plants, they don't grow well because they don't have any food and they don't have any energy. So the three main ingredients here that plants need, they need energy from the sun, carbon dioxide, and water. And here's a cute little diagram of that exact thing. So here's our little cookbook picture. We are going to add some sunlight to this sweet little plant. We are going to give it some water through its roots to pull up into those leaves, and it is also going to get carbon dioxide through those leaves. With all three of these things, it is going to undergo photosynthesis and be a happy little plant with lots of food energy, lots of sugar, carbohydrates, and he is going to be a very healthy little plant. So there you go. So this reaction, after this reaction takes place, it actually releases oxygen back into the environment. And I know you guys have probably heard how humans, right? We inhale oxygen, we breathe in oxygen, and then we exhale carbon dioxide. We get rid of, that's the waste gas that our bodies get rid of. We take in oxygen, we get rid of carbon dioxide. So plants are the exact opposite. They need that carbon dioxide, they breathe that in, they inhale that, and then they release oxygen back into the environment. So again, a cute little diagram here. We have carbon dioxide coming into the plant and oxygen going out of the plant. So we have all this carbon dioxide coming in, oxygen coming out. It doesn't have a nose and a mouth. How does this happen? Well, all leaves have these teeny tiny little holes. They're called stomata. The stomata are tiny holes that allow for gas exchange to happen. So they kind of open up just a little bit, just enough to let carbon dioxide in, and then when they need to release oxygen back out, the stomata open back up and release the oxygen. These are teeny, teeny, tiny. You would need a very powerful microscope to see them. You can't just go out and look at a leaf and see this, but they are there. So then from here, the sugar that is made during photosynthesis is sent to the cell's mitochondria to make ATP. Now, if we were in class, we would go into this a lot more. If it's something you're interested in, you can definitely look it up and research it some more. But ATP basically is an energy that the plant can actually use. Okay, it can use it to grow and to do all of the things that it needs to do. There you go, ATP. That's all you need to know. All right, so as well as plants, many kinds of algae, protists, which are unicellular organisms, and bacteria use photosynthesis to get food. So a lot of times we just think about big trees or leafy plants or grass, things like that. But there are also other types of organisms that fall under this category of undergoing photosynthesis. It is very important for life on Earth. And if you think about those food chains, and I know, again, in 5th grade, you talked about how all those food chains kind of start with energy from the sun going to plants. Everything starts with those producers, right? Those producers. So photosynthesis is very important for all life on Earth, even for us as people, even though we don't necessarily undergo photosynthesis ourselves, we rely on it because we need that energy that has been transformed into a more useful source, that ATP. So most plants either directly or indirectly depend on photosynthesis. And I would say as well as all animals and living things on our planet. All right, so this is the chemical formula. So those of you who really loved chemistry earlier in the year, this is kind of bringing back some of those ideas and moving them to a little bit more advanced stages. So looking here, remember at the beginning of this video, we talked about those 3 ingredients that we need to undergo photosynthesis. So we needed carbon dioxide, water, and the sun's energy. And you can see on the left side of your screen, we have 1, 2, 3 things on this side of the arrow. Those are the ingredients. Those are the things that are coming together to make photosynthesis happen. So in this first column, we have carbon dioxide. Remember, that's the 1 atom of carbon, 2 atoms of oxygen, and they create a carbon dioxide molecule. Now, for photosynthesis to happen, you cannot just have 1 carbon dioxide molecule, you need 6 of them. So we take 6 carbon dioxide molecules and we add them together inside of those chloroplasts with water, which we know the chemical formula for that is H2O. That's 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom. But again, we don't just need 1 of those molecules, we need 6 of those molecules. So you need 6 carbon dioxide molecules and 6 water molecules. We put those together inside of those chloroplasts with the sun's energy to undergo photosynthesis. And photons here is just the fancy word for the sun's energy. All right, so that's the first half of our chemical equation here. You see this arrow pointing to the right. This arrow is really important in this formula because this tells us that this only goes in one direction. Okay, so we can take these 3 ingredients and we can create these things over here. We cannot move backwards, right? This only moves in one direction. So what happens? We add these 3 things together inside the chloroplasts of a plant, and what we get is we have glucose, which is that sugar molecule, and then we also have the oxygen, that O2 that is being released, and it's not just 1, but 6 oxygen molecules are released into the air. For those of you who, again, are really interested in chemistry and kind of moving forward with that, you can balance this equation. So in the first half of this equation, there are 6 carbon dioxide molecules, and each of those molecules have 6 carbon atoms. So there's 6 carbons, or 6 of these C's on this side of the equation. And when we move to this side, there are 6 of these C's. They're now not in carbon dioxide. They're a part of this glucose molecule that is created, but you can see them there on that side. Same thing with all of these other molecules. You can see that there are 12. There's 6 molecules of carbon dioxide. Each of those has 2 oxygens, so that's 12 oxygens plus another 6 oxygens here, and you can kind of balance those out on the other side of the equation. So again, if you're interested in that, you might want to play around with it and see what you can figure out. It's kind of cool. All right, so the last part of your notes today is just kind of a review of everything that's been in this video, and just in another kind of format here. So to start, we have chlorophyll, which is that green gooey stuff that is located inside the chloroplasts of plant cells. This chlorophyll traps light energy and makes food for plants. So how does this happen? What do we need? What are the ingredients? Well, oops, sorry, I went the wrong way. We need light energy, those photons, sunlight. We need light energy for this to happen. What's another ingredient? That's right, we need water. How does the plant get water? It is absorbed from the roots. Good. So go ahead and add those little notes to your diagram. And then the last ingredient that these plants need to undergo photosynthesis is, that's right, carbon dioxide. And just some notes about that. First of all, it enters through the stomata of leaves. Again, that isn't a word you will probably come across this week, so make sure you have it written down. And CO2, which is carbon dioxide, is what animals like us exhale. All right, so we add these three ingredients inside the chloroplasts and the chlorophyll, and what happens? Well, one thing that happens is oxygen is released into the air. So you can add that on this side of your leaf. And the other thing that happens is we get a sugar molecule, which is the energy that's converted into food in the chloroplasts. So that is it for photosynthesis for your video this week. I hope you guys learned something. Do some research, do some stuff on your own to find out more about photosynthesis. It's pretty cool. And it's a really neat process to kind of dig into, especially if you're interested in biology or chemistry. So we have some assignments for you guys to do this week. Let us know if you have any questions. Email us, contact us through Teams, and we will talk to you soon. Other than that, I love ya, but you got to go. Bye, guys.